everyone, Sarah here. I have something I've been wanting to share with you for a while, and I finally have the books to do so, and so I am really excited. Now, as you know, I am a homeschool mama, but this does not apply strictly to homeschooling families. So I think that this is a great resource that I'm about to share with you, specifically if you are in Canada. And I'm not just going to be showing you curriculum, I'm going to be showing you a looping basket or a series of storybooks that I'm going to be using with my boys that will introduce them to Canadian history, culture, Indigenous studies, as well as Canadian community. So I refer to a looping basket. If you're not a homeschooling family, you probably have no idea what in the heck I'm talking about. So a looping basket is when you take a series of books, generally speaking all storybooks, and you rotate them and they will fall in certain themes. So I have come up with a social studies looping basket. I don't take full credit for it, and I'll give the full credits in a minute. But the 4 categories that we're going to be working on include learning about First Nations, Canadian biographies, so notable Canadians, all sorts of walks in life. The third will be sort of a combination of Canadian culture and geography, and then the 4th one will be Canadian communities. And so we have our book, we read the few pages that I've already planned, then we do an activity. Then the next day we do the second category, third day we do the third category, and we just sort of loop round. If you are interested in homeschooling, it doesn't matter if you're in Canada or the United States, Homeschool On is a YouTube channel. She's here on Instagram, Rebecca Spooner. I have pulled from a social studies looping basket she shared a few years ago, and I also spent a ridiculous number of hours on Donna Ward's site, Northwood Publishing, which is all sorts of books for Canadian history, geography, and social studies for every age. Great resource to look at. Now, Indigenous Studies. Another great resource, depending on the age of your kids, depending on how much time you want to spend educating your children on this subject. I mentioned Rebecca Spooner from at Homeschool On. She has created her own homeschool curriculum called Gather Around Homeschool. You'll be hearing more about that from me in the future because I'm switching over to this curriculum myself. And she created a little mini unit about Indigenous peoples, and this will apply whether you are Canadian or American. This is also something that I plan on using in the future, and she has also a Canadian Social Studies unit, a mini unit coming out soon. And if you are interested, this is something you've been thinking, I want to introduce my children to some of these harder topics, but I'm not sure how to approach it. This would be a great resource because the beauty of Gather Around Homeschool is that it is applicable to every single age range. You have your unit theme, and then they provide you with the lesson material for children starting in preschool all the way up to high school. And if you go to gatheraroundhomeschool.com and you look at the mini units, look at Indigenous peoples, you can download a lesson sample for any of those levels. So no matter what age your children are, there will be something for you. So that's my explanation. That's some resources that I've drawn from, and now I'm going to show you the books. So this is what I have planned. So the first day of the week, when we are going to start this in the fall, we will be doing our First Nations. And so how it will look is we will look at a storybook. We might go through the whole book in that session, because my kids are little, so they may not have the full attention span. But so over 1 day or 2 days, we will work on different books that introduce them to First Nations culture. And this is the ones that I have purchased. We have The Delta is My Home. This is by Tom McLeod. We have Our First Caribou Hunt. This is by Jennifer Noah and Chris Chabot. These books are good for, it says ages 5 to 8. Mine are younger than that. I think you know your kid, you'll know if it's right for them. We have Maple Moon. This is by Connie Burmelcrook and Scott Cameron. We have The Polar Bear's Son, an Inuit Tale, retold and illustrated by Lydia Dubkovich. I'm really hoping I'm not butchering these names. And then we have Hidden Buffalo, story by Rudy Lieb. If you want I can show a flip through, or I can take some pictures of the inside of some of these books if you're interested. There's beautiful illustrations in all of them. I will be uploading this to IGTV and YouTube when this live is over. The links will all be there, and if you want more detail, I can accommodate you. So on Mondays we will either complete a book or we won't complete a book. When we use all these books up, I'll be pulling from the library. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the table. My younger two can do coloring, and I purchased this for my oldest. He's going into grade 2 this year, and it's Inuit Community. I purchased this from the Learning House, which is a homeschool store based out of Goderich. They have a site you can order from as well. I have not been able to find this book anywhere else. I looked on Amazon, I didn't find it. But this is a workbook, and we would work through 1 or 2 worksheets per lesson. And all of this introduces them to various elements of Inuit culture. So I want them to hear the story, and then for my son, he would come and learn about Inuit community. I will probably just photocopy pages out of here. Winter wear. So it says this is for children in grade 2 to 3. If you have younger kids, you know, you could photocopy and just let them color the pictures. That's something I often do with my children. So that will be on Mondays. We'll be doing that, and we'll loop that and do it once a week. Then on Tuesdays, we will do Canadian biographies, and I have purchased books. This is not all the books, I'm missing one of them, but this is by Maxine Trottier, however you want to say it, and this is the Scholastic Canada Biographies. This could serve a wide age range of children. And these are the ones that I have. I have Canadian leaders. Each book has a biography on 5 notable Canadians. There's pictures as well as illustrations. They're not too long. Looks like they're approximately 7 to 10 pages each. So we have, like I said, Canadian leaders. We have Canadian greats. We have Canadian inventors, Canadian artists. I'm really excited to have these because with Gather on Homeschool, we are going to be doing units on inventors as well as artists. So these books will pair very well when we're doing that. Then I have Canadian pioneers and Canadian explorers. Now there's also a Canadian heroes book. I started going through that with my children last school year, and we completed all 4 except the last one, which was Terry Fox. So I decided I'll just get that one from the library so we can do the story about Terry Fox. I didn't need to buy it this time around. So when that's over, my son, I think both my older sons will do something called oral narration. This is something that whether you homeschool or not, this is a great little exercise after you've read a story to your child. Now, depending on the age range, if they're young, you could say, can you tell me one thing you remember from that story? And whatever they remember, it's what they remember as long as it's accurate and it was in the book, then you praise the heck out of it. And then you do this every single time and you build, well, can you remember 2 or 3 things? And then as they get used to it, they probably are not going to be thrilled that you're asking them this necessarily at first, but as they grow, then you ask them, can you, in your own words, tell me what happened in this story? You don't say to them necessarily, you know, so what happened or what did so-and-so do? You're not going to guide them, you're going to let them pull from their memory in their own words and describe the story. And then as you do this exercise when they get older and it comes time to do things like book reports, or also called written narration, then they've already developed that skill. So what I'm going to be doing is having my son do some oral narration of what he remembers from that one person's story, and then when we complete a book, I'm going to ask him to tell me what was his favorite one, draw a picture, and write down a very short paragraph explaining why, and that will be sort of our follow-up to that category. The third category is geography and culture. I have 2 books. I have Cultural Traditions Canada, and I have Spotlight on Canada. The first one doesn't actually say who the author is. It's inside. You probably don't care. Anyways, great illustrations. This is a series they do for all sorts of countries. So just introducing them to a little bit more of Canada so they can understand the scope of this country outside of the tiny little corner of rural Ontario that we live in. And then this explains a little bit more about culture, Canada Day that we just had. So we would do maybe 1 or 2 pages, and my little ones can look at the pictures. It's very brief. If you ever decide you want to purchase books and introduce your children more to Canadian culture, you can work through the book at your own pace and whatever you feel works. Then when we are done that, remember, bear in mind this is all different days. We're not doing this all at the same time. Then we'll go to the table, and my oldest will work on map book. He is finishing, I think it's called My First Map Book. It's for kindergarten level. They have this for all grades, I think at least up to grade 6. I don't think it goes beyond grade 6. Again, 1 to 2 quick little worksheets, and this book here is going to be introducing a little bit more to Canadian geography as well as other geographical concepts. So we have landforms, what are they, what do they look like on a map. There's a focus on provinces specifically. This is for grade 2 to grade 3, level 1. So we would then do 1 to 2 pages from this. Again, this could be really great for the summer, or on those days when your kids are home and you just need a little something to fill in some more time. Getting one of these map books could come in handy. And also it's introducing them in a gentle, fun way to really important things. And then lastly is community. Now, there's a whole bunch of books that I'm going to be using for community, communication, what it looks like now, what it used to look like in the past, community helpers, farming, fishing. I decided I didn't want to purchase those books because we might go through them again, we might not. And so I'm going to rely on the library. Right now with COVID-19, libraries are sometimes available, sometimes they're not, which is why I purchased so many books. That's not something I've ever done, but I've kind of been forced to this year. So I'm gonna wing it and rely on our library for those books. If this is something you want me to share with you, you are interested, then just send me a little direct message, and when I do have those in my possession, then I can show you, or at least give you the list that I'm going to be pulling from. So again, we would do a few pages of one of those community-based type books where they learn about a community, and then we have this book. There are 3 in this series, all about the grade 1 level. This one I got, I also got from the Learning House. You can also purchase it from Donna Ward, and if you do a Google search, you might find some other places where you can purchase it as well. Homeschool stores should have them. And these are, again, very short. It's all by Apple Press, so it's the same style. But the purpose is to introduce them to different aspects of community. So, a hospital, what does it do? How does it function? Places that help, places to have fun. Just gonna flip over to the contents. Different kinds of services, different kinds of community workers. There was even one that I had to laugh because we are in Canada, and keeping the power on. I thought that was actually pretty funny, and I don't think we did lose the power this past winter once. So I thought, you know what? It's not something I ever would have thought to teach my children, and yet it's something that is very relevant. And then, near the end, how can I be a caring person? How can I be a helping person? So that is what we are doing for Canadian Social Studies this homeschool year. Like I said, I think that we are at a point in history where we have not just the privilege, but we have a responsibility to start introducing our children to some of these concepts. And I think the best place where we can introduce it to them, where we can reinforce it, is in the home. The week's almost over, guys. Things are going well. Have a blessed day.